Draft nerds, Saints fans, welcome in to our New Orleans Saints 2025 4-round mock draft. First Saints mock draft here on the channel for this draft cycle. I'm excited to get into it. The Saints, they're sitting in the 3-hole right now. Obviously, this season has not gone the way they expected, not the way it started, right? Got off to an incredible start and it quickly fell apart. Moved on from Dennis Allen. You've obviously got to find the right head coach, whether it be a Ben Johnson. Aaron Glenn would be a fantastic fit going back to New Orleans, or whether it's those guys or somebody else. You know, is Mickey Loomis still running the show from a personnel standpoint? There's a lot of questions to be answered, and this roster is going to need a ton of work. It's going to be a big time rebuild. There's a ton of cut candidates. I don't want to focus on that right now, but there are a lot of older players that again are cut candidates when you look at they're scheduled to be over $60 million over the cap in the red. It's tough. And you look at who are the pieces we're really trying to build around here. Long term, you got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Talise Fuaga, Cesar Ruiz, Alvin Kamara on the offensive side. I think those are all guys you can feel really good about. Some decent tight end play as well. On defense, you know, Carl Granderson, maybe Chase Young. Obviously did not sign a long-term deal. Hopefully Brian Bresee can step up. I think Pete Werner's a good football player. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Paulson Adebo. But there's just not that much to get super excited about. Not much more than a handful of guys that you feel like are definitely projecting forward as linchpins of this franchise. So it's gonna take a couple years, in my opinion, because you've got Cameron Jordan is 35 years old, not playing his best ball. Demario Davis, 35 years old, not playing his best ball. Tyrann Mathieu, an older football player. I mean, and then some of the guys you bring in this year, Willie Gay, not playing great. You've missed on some draft picks. You've had some unfortunate injury situations on the offensive line as well. So, and then last year you look at the draft and you don't have a pick in the 3rd or 4th round. It's a tough situation. It was tough. So, you know, as much as I'd like to trade down here and build up a lot more draft capital to really restart this rebuild and get a lot of fresh faces in here, we got to get our quarterback at 3. You know, Derek Carr is not the answer. I think that's abundantly clear. Not going to get you over the top. So I think we got to get our quarterback at 3. And, you know, in this mock draft, we have 3, 34, 65, 93, 108, and 131. So there are a lot of opportunities to get better here in the first 4 rounds. And as we move forward throughout this draft cycle, we'll get longer into these mock drafts and do 7 rounds. But just want to get a basic premise of how we can get the Saints back to respectability early on. You know, day 3 of the draft after the 4th round, in my opinion, it's a crapshoot as much as anything, right? So first 4 rounds, I think, are the most critical in every single draft for the most part. And we're going to get into it here. And I think the NFL is better when the Saints are good. So it's a better product when the Saints are good. So we're going to try to get him back there here. You've got Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Garrett Nussmeier, maybe Jalen Milroe. He could go back to school. Carson Beck. Nussmeier could go back as well, I believe. But to me, there's not a surefire. I mean, there's not a Caleb Williams or Drake May or even Jaden Daniels in this class for me. I do think that Shedeur Sanders probably projects as the safest pick, as someone who probably, I think, for a good amount of his career, probably will be a quality starting quarterback. Is he going to be the guy that gets you over the top? Like, again, this is not a team that just needs somebody who can manage things, in my opinion. This is a team that needs someone who can elevate this roster while they're rebuilding, while they're getting things going. So for me, you could look at Garrett Nussmeier, who doesn't have like the craziest arm or athletic ability, but he is extremely accurate. He's a gamer, makes some mistakes. Obviously, LSU kid, which would be fun for New Orleans, but it's got to be Cam Ward for me. This is a prospect who has all the things you can't teach a quarterback, you know, superlative arm strength, arm accuracy, talent, the ability to throw off platform, the ability to go off script, different arm angles, unbelievable playmaker, right? He absolutely is. And while he's not going to be like a burner at the quarterback position like a Jaden Daniels, he is a dual threat quarterback in that he has like a sixth sense about him of when the most opportune time is to break the pocket and go make plays with his legs. And usually when he takes off, he is able to pick up the yards that the Miami offense needs. So, again, not an elite athlete at the quarterback position, but something about the way he is able to quickly take off and know when to get that job done. There's something special about it. There's something special about his playmaking, his arm talent. What you need from Cam Ward is to develop the within structure, within the context of whatever offense you have in New Orleans, sticking in the pocket, getting through your reads or getting rid of the ball quickly, eliminating some of the mistakes that have plagued him throughout his college career. But he's shown tremendous development every year. And I think Cam Ward is the one where if you're going to take a swing on a guy, because at any of these quarterbacks at 3, it's a swing. Again, it's not any of those top 3 quarterbacks you had last year who I thought were all going to hit and be safe picks. Cam Ward is the one that has the chance of being the home run. So that's where I would go. That's where I would go if I was the New Orleans Saints here. Again, I don't necessarily have like a first round grade on any of these quarterbacks, but that position, you got to go hit on it. You got to try, you got to take your swings. And at 3 overall, getting your number 1 quarterback, Cam Ward, I think would be fantastic. And we got to protect Cam Ward as well, right? I mentioned Cesar Ruiz, Talise Fuaga. I think you got to admit that you didn't hit on Trevor Penning, right? So enter Joshua Simmons, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. He was trending towards being my OT1 in this class, had the ACL a few weeks back. And so he's going to be on the mend. Hopefully he can get ready and be ready to go early on, maybe to start the 2025 campaign. But this isn't about week 1 or week 2 of next year. It's about long-term building something that can be sustainable. And I think Josh Simmons, with his combination of length, athleticism, so light on his feet, yet powerful and has that nastiness to him, fantastic in pass protection and getting out on the move as a run blocker and at the point of attack. I just like his game. I think it's fairly complete. Transferred over there. Josh Simmons did last year. So I love Josh Simmons' game. And if you can get him at a little bit of a discount at 34 because he's coming off the injury, I think that would be a home run for them. At 65, as much as you like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed and their ability to stretch the field and be productive receivers, I think you could really use someone who can be that chain mover, big-bodied, contested catch, consistent hands type of football player. And I think Jaden Higgins is a vastly underrated prospect in this class. I know a lot of people talk about him, but more as like maybe a late day 2 guy, early day 3. I think Jaden Higgins at 6'4" with 215 pounds, his ability to go up and get the football, his physicality, he can use his physicality as a route runner really well, and not by like pushing off, right? Not extending that arm where you get the pass interference by, these subtle elbows, the leaning into a defender and creating space that way. And then again, for being 6'4" and 215 pounds, I think he's able to sink his hips really well and kind of leave defenders in the dust at times. So not going to be the fastest, certainly not. At 6'4", 215, it's not like you're getting this monster freak show that's 6'4", 215 running a 4.3 or a 4.4, but you're getting somebody who is a crafty route runner, a nuanced receiver who has really good hands that complements what you have already. So I'd be excited about that. At 93, we got to beef up that defensive front. It's unclear what it's going to be looking like next year on the defensive line, who's going to be there, who's not. But I think Dante Corleone out of Cincinnati, somebody who dealt with blood clots early on in the summer and was able to get back and get right for Cincinnati. And he's just a behemoth on the interior. Not the tallest interior defensive lineman, but he's got the beef. He's a nose tackle type who also can create penetration and give you juice on the interior. So, can hold up at the point of attack against double teams, but also knife inside and use his hands and quickness to create disruption in the backfield. I think that's the exact type of guy that the New Orleans Saints could use, and I don't think he should be available at this point, but medical history, maybe not the ideal size for some teams from a height and length perspective. Dante Corleone could fall down the board, and I think that would be awesome to land him at 93. And then at 108, another defensive lineman who I think can move across the front for you, Texas A&M defensive lineman Shamar Turner. Texas A&M has a lot of talent up front. Turner, you can tell that he understands the game at a high level. He's always communicating. He's always pointing out when there's movement up front, when there's different things going on with the offense. He's communicating that, and I love to see that from him. And then from a physical standpoint, 6'4", 300 pounds, has good length, very quick, very athletic, but strong as well. And I think you see his understanding of the game in between the whistles as well, where he sees what offenses are trying to do, and he's able to attack because of his football IQ, because of his smarts. I think that he's someone who has a lot more potential than what we've seen at Texas A&M. I think that's a consistent through line with these guys at Texas A&M, but he does his job there, right? They're not asking him to be the big time penetrator in that defense. They're asking him to hold up at the point of attack, to be smart, and he does those things. But you see the flashes of athleticism, of length, and strength. So I think Shamar Turner, if you're able to land him at this point in the draft, would be pretty much a steal. And then at 131, a lot of different directions you can go. I like Andrew Mukuba a lot. Look, I don't think that the Saints necessarily have what they need at safety long term. Obviously, the Honey Badger not going to be there forever. Mukuba, smart, instinctive, free safety type. He can run. He sees the game really well. He can cover. He's a playmaker. I think he can play some nickel for you too. So I think Mukuba can be a versatile defensive piece that has a chance to be a starter in the NFL, right? And to get that at the bottom of the fourth round, I think would be great for the New Orleans Saints. And this is the type of draft, the first 4 rounds, where I think you're starting to build more of a foundation, build upon the foundation that you do have with some players that complement what you have and address some needs, and start to fortify what you're doing moving forward. There's no one right way to do this for the Saints. Like, whoever is making the decisions will need to get players that fit what the coaching staff is looking for. But again, from a talent perspective, I really like this direction, working on the trenches, getting the quarterback of the future, getting somebody who can elevate those around him. I think those things are paramount for this football team. So if you're a Saints fan, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Draft fans, let me know what you think about the evaluation of these prospects. It is still just November, so a long way to go. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Have a good one.